everyone. Welcome to Taqueando. I'm your host, Bill Esparza. And this week we're going to the Valle de Guadalupe to talk to the premier winemaker of the day, Lulu Martinez of Bruma Winery. You know, it's that fancy place with a tree on top. There's a million Instagram photos of that. The tree goes down, not for long though. Lulu is everywhere. So we're going to talk to her about Bruma Winery, the upcoming Vendimias, the annual Vendimias Festival in the Valle de Guadalupe, and her sexy wine party known as the Bacanal. And before we get into my conversation with Lulu of Bruma, I'm going to talk about where I got to eat this week. So now let's get into some antojitos. I was in the Valle de Guadalupe this week checking out a new restaurant opening, and you're going to hear about that soon on Eater. But I also had the chance to stop by Envero, which is on my Eater Valle de Guadalupe guide. Envero is a chef that used to be at Manzanilla, one of the most famous restaurants, really defining restaurants of the Valle de Guadalupe. And I had not been there in a while. Tourism is a little slow in the Valle de Guadalupe right now. Obviously, all the things that are going on here in Los Angeles, what's been happening this last year. Los Angeles and San Diego are two major sources of tourism for Valle de Guadalupe. So it's a little slow, but it was wonderful. Had this lovely grilled quail with encacahuatado, which is a type of mole, a peanut mole, which I'm seeing a lot on menus right now. Is it a trend? I don't know. But so when you go to restaurants in the Valle de Guadalupe, you might see encacahuatado. And so that was really great. Wonderful shellfish, always in the Valle. Grilled oysters, some grilled mussels that were lovely. Yellowtail with sea urchin for tostadas. And I also had this lovely pork shank that was braised like in a sauce, almost like a birria, but it was just a salsa. And with wonderful heirloom corn tortillas, salsas to make your own tacos, and really a damn good gin tonic. And I'm a gin tonic lover. That's my number one cocktail. Nothing will ever touch the gin tonic at Manzanilla for me, but this one was really nice. And I'm not going to say it's a second or a third. Who cares? It's definitely like I would go to Envero just for that gin tonic and for the lovely food as well. And then I dropped into Malva by Chef Roberto Alcocer. And Malva at this point, has been around a long time. It's still one of the most affordable tasting menus you can do in the Valle. And for being a really casual space, doesn't have a lot of seats. It's not, as gorgeous as many of the spaces around town are these days that have rusticity, but they're a little bit more upscale. You know what I'm saying? And Malva is just really simple. You walk up some stairs and you're on a wood patio. It's got foliage overhead, so you get these wonderful patterns over your food pictures. It was really hard to take food shots there. But really elegant, refined cuisine on the tasting menu for such a simple place, with lovely wines from Mina Penelope, the winemaker that's on the same property. And so I did an 8-course meal with the wine pairings. And man, I'm like, if you have not been to Malva, and I know people these days the prices have gone up at some of the Valle de Guadalupe restaurants. So Malva is one that's going to come through for you at a very good price. And so I had this wonderful pescado del dia. It's the classic dish that came from Manzanilla restaurant. And it was a piece of grilled fish over 2 types of beans, one a puree, another one like a liquid fermented beans with ayocote, the runner beans. So beautiful and layered in flavors. I also had just again a really lovely presentation of cayo de hacha, pen shell clams, and then a lovely dish of mussels over a mole and cacahuatado. I told you it's a trend right now, with some flowers. They use a lot of the herbs from their garden and their dishes and their cocktails and their oils and things to get wonderful textures and flavors. But very, very beautiful, nuanced cuisine. A, a great broccoli, a broccoli tempura taco. Very an ode to the fish taco of the region. And there were beautiful little bites in between the amuse bouche, the a palate cleanser or an intermediate bite, a crab croquette that was super beautiful with local crab, as well as wonderful desserts. 8 courses, super solid, and really outperforms a lot of other restaurants at higher price points in the region. And I can't say enough about Mina Penelope wines. So that was my pairing was with all their lovely wines. So 2 places that I recommend that are both affordable. And Vero's more casual, but a great stop. It's at the Las Nubes Winery, which is one of the older wineries at this point. Also has a beautiful tasting room and great wines. So I recommend Envero at the Las Nubes Winery, and always Malva with Mina Penelope, which is really it's actually also the easiest place to get to in the Valle de Guadalupe. As soon as you come down when you come over the hill and you're making that little round before you get to the first stoplight in San Antonio de las Minas, on your right hand side, right before that, at the bottom of that curve is Malva. So just make a right and go right in and get started. And the chef that's running the kitchen, because Roberto is now up in Valle. He's earning Michelin stars and things like that. His team down there does a beautiful job. Recommended. And now I've been waiting for this talk with really a great human and a great winemaker, Lulu Martinez. Taquiando is powered by Acquired Taste Media. Be sure to listen to our sister podcasts, the LA Food Podcast and Let It Rip, a companion podcast for FX's The Bear, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And now, without further ado, vamos a taquear. So every time I go to the Valle de Guadalupe, one of the stops I really try to make is a stop at Bruma Winery. There's always new wineries and new rooms opening up, but Bruma feels like home to me. It's also part of this incredible complex that has the Fauna restaurant, and it also has a beautiful boutique hotel, and 2 of them actually, and a brand new mercado that has Bruma Wine Garden, a wonderful bakery and coffee shop. So if you stay at Attico, you can actually access all that. I've done that a couple times. So I am here with Lulu Martinez. Lulu has been at the Bruma Winery for 8 years. But before that, she actually learned winemaking in France. I know that sounds fancy, and everybody okay, that gives you a certain credibility, but and it does, right? So she first worked at Smith Haute Lafitte, famous house. That's one of those Grand Cru types. And even more important, Lulu was at Brand Cantenac for 11 years before she came back to her hometown, the Valle de Guadalupe. She's a native of the region, grew up around wine, and first worked for Henri Lurton, and then started at Bruma. And so welcome to the show, Lulu.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to be here. I'm a big fan, so thank you for inviting me.
Yes, the wonderful thing about this show is these are all friends. I mean, mostly. Yeah, there are going to be a couple people we don't know too well, but Lulu is a grand friend. We see each other everywhere.
Yeah.
Rio.
We have good taste. That's the thing. We like good food and good wine, so makes sense.
Right. So, yes, we ended up in the best places for food and wine. We love wine. And what are you drinking right now?
Can I? You're going to kill me because it's not Mexican wine, which I normally always drink, but my second love.
Wine drinkers get to drink whatever the fuck they want.
Fevle. Fevle is a beautiful family from Burgundy. Pinot Noir, super classical, old school. Love it though. And actually, it's funny story. The grandmother of Nico Lurton, which I have worked with for a lot of time in Henry Lurton, his great grandmother was the cousin of the Fevle family. So it's all about family winemaking.
Oh, wow.
It's like small world.
Well, you're a winemaker, but we're also, both of us are wine drinkers, so we drink all the wine.
Mhm.
So we want to experience.
Which, funny story, because a lot of people think that winemakers have to drink wine. It's actually not the case. When I started out at Brand Cantenac, I was like, my boss, the directeur technique was my biggest idol. Obviously, I learned everything from him. He was such a big part of my professional life. And every weekend, I was like, oh my God, I drank this Rioja and this Ribera and this Austrian. And he's like, oh, I've never tried an Austrian wine. I'm like, what do you mean? You've been working here for you've been making wine for 35 years.
Right.
It's like, no, my work is my work. I am, he was like so into what he was doing. But in my house, I don't drink wine.
Right.
And I was like, I couldn't believe it.
I believe it.
But right, there's a lot of winemakers that don't really drink wine apart from work because it's like, this is my work, but I don't do this after hours.
Yeah, I remember this from going to Santa Ynez all these years, that a lot of the winemakers I knew, we would stop at Carhart Winery back when it was a small little room. It was the smallest tasting room in Los Olivos. And at the end of the day, Mike Carhart would pour us wine and he would drink beer.
That's so random, right? I was like, okay, get it. I get it. It's your job and your life.
Yeah. And he was like, all the winemakers, we all drink beer.
I don't like beer. I love wine. If I want beer, I drink champagne or pet nat, or, I just drink sparkling.
Yeah, if you want some effervescence, a little pet nat. I don't drink a lot of beer. I like beer, but I like it in small quantities. One is enough for me. I can drink wine all night. I can drink whiskey and scotch, and I can drink mezcal, tequila all night. But yeah, beer, no. After one and done.
I wonder if it's food. Like, I feel like if I have a beer or two or three or five, I can't eat anymore.
It's filling.
And I love food, so I have to.
We're on the same page. We want to eat, so beer, get out of our way.
Exactly.
A little michelada at the beach with some mariscos.
Or when you're cruda. Cuando estás cruda, sí. Cuando estoy cruda, me echo una michelada.
Yes.
Hangover michelada is the best.
But I like the idea of using pet nat. Mm-hmm. Now, you've had this broad experience, and you are. I mean, I think there's a lot of Valle de Guadalupe winemakers that went back to Europe to study, because there's such this long tradition. But over the years, the Valle de Guadalupe has had so much criticism from wine snobs, and I've always found it to be, as really an appreciator of wine, as someone who drinks. I try wine everywhere. I've gone all over the California and Baja California. Mm-hmm. I've been through Oregon. I went and I know I haven't convinced you yet, and I have to do that. But I went to drink wine in Brazil and found great wines, and you still don't believe me.
I don't.
So I have to prove that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not in your head. But this idea that you can't enjoy Mexican wine and the terroir and how the wine works really so well with Valle de Guadalupe cuisine, which is obviously, you guys are very smart, and you're considering, okay, my wine needs to go with this local cuisine, and also the wonderful street food traditions that are around. And one of the funnest things ever is to go to La Guerrerense,
Claro.
or one of these stands with a bottle of wine, right?
Of course. And we had this conversation, well, kind of a couple of days ago, where you told me about this pajarete, which was like, in Los Angeles, no?
Right.
And so it's like, you can have a pajarete in Los Angeles. Food and wine are one, and in Mexico, it's gastronomy.
Yes, it's gastronomy. That's the definition of gastronomy.
I don't think anyone can deny that Mexican food is relevant in the world.
Oh.
And if you do, give me a break. It's not realistic. Mexican food is super relevant in the gastronomical world.
Yeah.
It only makes sense that what we produce, call it mezcal, tequila, pajarete, wine, goes with it. Because we have that in our palate. We have that in our culture. And I don't understand how people that recognize Mexican food can't grasp how Mexican wine makes sense too, because it's part of our land.
Yeah.
We tend to forget that wine comes out of agriculture, which is the truth. Wine comes out of the fields, not of a laboratory, not out of a tank, not out of a fermentation random process. It comes from something that's living and from the land. And who can deny that Mexicans aren't good in our land? We live for our land. We live
Right.
with our soils. So I just feel like there's this, like you said, snobbish thing about wine that takes it away from the fields and from our lands and is disconnected from what it really is. For me, it makes so much sense that Mexico has great wine, is getting there. We might not have the history behind it, but we're building it.
Right.
But the product, which is grapes, we know how to do that. We know how to agriculture. That's what we do.
It's an incredibly young wine region.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, I mean, it starts in the 80s.
Professionally, it does.
Right. Before they were growing grapes to make brandy. Most of the growers were selling their grapes to Domecq and these big companies that were making brandy. And when my grandfather drank El Presidente,
Of course.
we'd never heard of Mexican wine, and so it was in the early 80s. Some of the people started to say, we're going to make wine, and they decided to make a wine industry.
Yeah.
And then you have the Jugo de Acosta breaking out in the 90s.
Yeah.
And before that, there were houses like Chateau Camot and Montechanic that had prestige. But a lot of the wineries, the early wineries, weren't that great. But what people don't understand is that they were experimenting and learning. And even a lot of those wineries,
Of course,
have gotten a lot better. But in a short time, after the wine school was opened up, and also when the tourism really kicked in, it really has grown exponentially, and it's gotten so good so fast.
Yeah.
I doubt that you could go to the first 40 years of winemaking in France and have expected such great results. It took France thousands of years.
I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with precisely that, how young we are and how there's no expectation. Since there's no history behind it,
Right.
we can innovate and we don't insult anyone and we don't have to fight against the system because there's none, right? It's so new that we can do whatever
Yeah.
we want and it's not a problem. Whereas in Europe, there's this big, heavy, sometimes cultural heritage, which makes it tricky to evolve and try new things. For us, there's so much liberty that we've been
Right.
just kind of really advancing at huge steps because we can experiment. And can we say bad words in this or no?
Yeah, we can say bad words.
We can fuck it. Okay, great. So we can fuck it up and nobody would even care because they don't expect anything about a Mexican wine. Whereas you talk about Bordeaux and you change the color of the label and it could be, it could be disastrous.
Right.
For us, it's like, hey, we don't care. We can change things around, do one vintage, change that blend, do another blend, team up. Everything's okay. And I think that has made us advance so much.
Yeah.
No limits.
Right. And so the early houses like Chateau Camot, Montechanic, they were modeling themselves after French wineries, doing Bordeaux blends. And a lot of people still kind of do that. But, that doesn't necessarily work in a region where do we know what the principal grapes yet of the Valle de Guadalupe are? We don't know yet.
I don't think so. I always talk about, how there's like dog years.
Yeah.
Like one normal year for us is like 7 years for a dog.
Right.
There's wine years too. And that's a big problem because wine years are much longer than dog years. It's like everything takes more time because when you plant a certified plant, that means it's 3 years old. Before it starts producing, that's 4 years. So you're 7 years in and you haven't even produced one bottle of wine. Then you produce a bottle of wine and might be good or not. You might be okay with a varietal, but maybe that year it was super hot or it was super cold or you didn't have enough sunshine, whatever might have happened. So you might take, after 3 or 4 years after that, have a tendency. You're already 10 or 12 years in and you still don't have a fucking clue of what's going on if it's adapted to your terroir.
Right.
So you've just talked about 1980s. We might have been experiencing with different varietals now for 45 years, which is basically one or two plantations. That's it.
Right.
So we're still very, very young. So talking about one varietal that works, not sure. There's definitely a tendency. We've talked, about Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is a big thing in Mexico. We're in Baja. Is it really Nebbiolo? Is it not Nebbiolo? That's a whole other conversation. But the Nebbiolo that we call Nebbiolo is very popular and widely planted. I think that makes a lot of sense. I personally love Chenin in whites. I
Yeah.
love Chenin.
There are definitely grapes that are used a lot, but there you wouldn't say, well, these are the white grapes of the Valle de Guadalupe, like the way it's so rigid in Bordeaux, Burgundy,
Yeah.
Rhone,
Yeah.
and these
Of course.
appellations. And so, yes, Chenin Blanc in the Valle is wonderful.
Beautiful. It's a good performer. It's like, for me, at the precise moment where we're at, I wouldn't be able to say there's a one varietal for whites, one varietal for reds. I would definitely say there are certain varietals that perform generally really well in Baja. So we might explore that route, right?
Right.
We might go that way. Will that be the final word? I don't know, but at least it's obvious that there are certain varietals that perform really well in Valle.
Right. But you're still young enough. And when you are this young as a wine region, you're also going to say, you know what? I'm just going to plant this year. I'm going to plant these grapes and just see what happens. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, even if you're in Bordeaux, you have to deal with the annual climate, water, rainfall,
Yeah.
and all those factors that you have to make these adjustments. But they're no longer looking at which grapes to plant, and they have old vines, and their methods are standardized for the appellation. So there's a lot of things that you can do now that I think that's what's I think fun about Mexican wine. But I always tell people, okay, I don't know what it means when you say this bottle of wine is better than that bottle of wine when they're so different. I mean, we can definitely make comparisons within a region and talk about things that are similar. But when I'm sitting there, having a beautiful Reina clam at El Gordo, I don't want a Sauterne. It doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Or a Chablis. I'm a big fan of Chablis. I would not have a
I love
Chablis
Chablis.
with El Gordo. No?
Right. We can make arguments for the Sancerre and a Vouvray, maybe, but
Maybe.
I want the style of winemaking, this acid, acidic winemaking that's happening in the Valle. I
Yeah.
want that wine with that seafood.
Agreed. And, funny thing, when you talk about that, when I was in Bordeaux, for me, it was all about winemaking, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like my boss. Like, that was my job, to make wine, regardless if, on my extra hours, I wanted to eat or not eat, or loved great food, or that was my thing, or drank other things that were wine. But my thing was to make wine. When I came to Mexico and I started with Bruma, before I actually started with them, I was kind of insulted because they were like, "Oh, come to Bruma and we have a restaurant and we have a hotel." And I was like, very Frenchy like. I was like, "C'est américain." It's like, these Americans, right? Like, they want to make money out of everything. It's like the Disneyland. I'm not Disneyland. I make wine.
Yeah.
I don't want a restaurant. I don't want a hotel. I make wine. I'm not going to prostitute myself to do all of these other, things. I make wine. So I was like, no, I don't know if I want to go into Bruma because they seem a little bit too Disneylandish, right?
Right, because you weren't the original wine. You weren't the opening winemaker.
No, Hugo da Costa started
Oh,
with Bruma. He actually planted the vineyard with Bruma back in 2009, 10, 11.
oh my God! So I told you I was at their launch party.
Yeah, you were there before I was. Yes.
It was the most ridiculous party I've ever been to in my life.
Flamboyesque.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, and they had this something, the sad clown, like that sings pop songs in minor keys, and he has he has tears on his. It was like it was one of those things where the only way you could maybe enjoy that party is if you were really high, And I wasn't.
Were you?
I was not. You know,
Oh,
it's kind of like that thing of trying to cross the border. You know, it's like I can't really bring it with me.
I'm glad I wasn't there.
Oh, it reminded me of the old events in Valle de Guadalupe that were a little corny
Yeah.
and too artsy and little. It was a silly party, and yes, the original investors were a little over the top kind of people.
That was I didn't like that. It was like, oh, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
But then, and it's crucial when you say El Gordito and like the white wines that we're doing in Baja. David, he doesn't even remember this, but David cooked this meal. We were at the tasting room. Fauna wasn't open. The winery wasn't open. We were just starting. And so David didn't have a kitchen because they were still building it. And he had these Weber, those barbecue grills that are just like this egg thing.
yeah,
And then he does not remember this, but he was doing a ceviche with fava beans. So good. So, so good. And I was eating that ceviche, and he did like this meat with potatoes. Super basic, but very, very good.
yeah.
And I was seeing the whole picture, and I was like, I want to be here. Like, not as a winemaker, I want to be here as a client. Like, I want to be seeing these olive trees, and I want to see this tree, and I want to eat this food, and I'm enjoying this wine. And then it kind of hit me differently. It's like, yes, I've been working in Bordeaux for 16 years, doing things very classically, only focusing on wine. There was we weren't even open to the public. It was like, you can't visit, you can't taste, you can't call us,
Right.
you can't see us. It was like super, super closed,
Very austere.
very austere. And so here we are building this thing for people to come in. And do I agree with this? I actually do, because guess what? I would love to go to this place. I would love to have an amazing meal, be in a place where the architecture is amazing, where I have great wine. And I remember there's a direct link of affection as to what I'm living, hearing, smelling. It's not just a good bottle of wine. To be honest, today, you can have a good bottle of wine kind of everywhere in the world, even in Brazil, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's not just
Temecula. Temecula. It's always a punchline here, but I don't know
yes,
about Temecula.
I don't know.
There might be a few in
There
Temecula.
might be, yes, they are. I have a lot of colleagues that are doing a great job. But good bottles of wine you can find everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Lodi.
Lodi, of course.
Lodi has good wine.
Yeah. It has to be more than that. It's like going to a good restaurant today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants that have good food. Guess what? It's no longer enough. You need good food, you need a good cocktail program, you need a good wine program, you need sustainability, you need a great playlist, you need a great ambiance. It's more than just good food. Honestly, today, if you have good wine, you can start playing. You're there. That's your ticket in. After you have good wine, then you have to do so many other things to really get in that space. And so for me, Bruma was that. I kind of, the reason why I didn't want to go into Bruma ended up being the reason why I liked Bruma so much, which is it's not just about wine.
And why you are still there.
Exactly. No, 8 years in, I'm like, it is about the experience. It is about what we share, which is good food, good wine, good tequila, good mezcal, good everything. It's not just about the wine. It's something a little bit more. It can't only be about the wine.
Right. So you're touching on something I think that's so important that I think gets lost in these really silly. So there are these people out there that they go everywhere and they're constantly knocking and they want to show their superiority of like, oh, I only like these Valle de Guadalupe wineries, and so I can be there. The Valle is at a point where you can spend many days visiting wineries and have really great tastings, and where, in 2000, when I was going there, that wasn't the case. It was one day and you were pretty much
Yeah.
had run through the handful that were really solid. But like when people ask me, like, what's your favorite wine tasting region? I'll always say Santa Ynez, Santa Barbara County, and Paso Robles, in between those two, because the winemaking is so good. They have plenty of water. They have this wonderful terroir. They have they know what grows well there, Pinot Noir and GSMs up in Paso Robles and more northern Rhone. But
Yeah.
then they ask me, well, but what's your favorite wine region? I'm like, Valle de Guadalupe, because it's the gastronomy. I can go all day. I can hit 10 wineries. I tell people when they're going to Santa Barbara County, I'm like, you know what? Just drive up to any place and walk in the room. They're all really good. Like there's not bad wine there, hardly at all. I mean, yeah, there would be some, but just the overall general quality of wines is so good because of all these factors. And the tastings are not expensive, so I'm like, just go anywhere. But yeah, these ones are exceptional. But when I want to go to dinner, those regions are really struggling to bring in restaurants. Like they're now starting to get good restaurants in recent years because 10 years ago it was just steakhouses in Los Olivos and Lompoc in that area, Solvang. So
Yeah.
I felt a little cheated at the end of the day, even though it's a nice steakhouse and a cool old place, that I'm drinking all this great wine and I'm having a damn mashed potatoes and a steak. And in Napa, it's worse. It's $75 tastings, $100 tastings for mediocre wine, and the restaurants are very lame. Lots of still old Cal Italian places, or I mean, you can go to the French Laundry and pay
Mm.
way too much money, you know. And so,
Yeah.
and I think about all these regions. I'm like, Valle de Guadalupe has Michelin star restaurants. It has Latin America 50 best. I mean, which whatever accolades are accolades, but like world class dining, and also something that wine
Yeah.
loves more than anything is shellfish. And shellfish just begs for wine. They beg for each other.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
so here I can go to Fauna, Animalon, Damiana, Deckman's, Malva, uh, now Olivea, who just got a star. I can go to all these restaurants,
Villa Torel.
Via Torrel, Lunario.
Yeah.
It doesn't end,
Yeah. So many.
and there's even more, right? I mean, we're and by the way, you and I both know that people are going to be like sending us DMs about this conversation, like how come you left us out?
I know. I know. I know. But there's so many. We love you all, of course.
Shut up. We love you all. Gosh, we don't have time. We only have an hour.
Javier Plasencia. We have to say it to Abu. You did Animalon, of course. Yeah.
I said Animalon.
And Oscar.
I said Animalon. I said it. I did say it. And it's growing, and even beyond the ones that we've talked about, there's still
Yeah.
others that are really solid. I just went to Envero. Really nice lunch at Envero. Great place.
I saw that. I know. I haven't been there in ages.
And yeah, you should go. But there's also great seafood stands and Ensenada to go to, and fish tacos that are all part of that gastronomy.
Of course.
And there's a lot more street food stands than there used to be in Valle de Guadalupe and Francisco Zarco, for instance.
The ceviche from La Pasadita is amazing. The burritos from La Pasadita is amazing.
Right.
Food is a huge thing, and I think that makes a difference. And you saying this is like
Gastronomy is food and wine.
it has
We agree.
to be.
That's it.
The biggest, to be honest, I went into winemaking for a bunch of reasons, but the main one was for me every Sunday, every single Sunday. Us Mexicans y la familia somos así.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, every Sunday you have to be with a family. I couldn't be with my friends. I had to be with my family. And we went to we have a ranch near La Lomita, near Doña Estela. That place is called San Marcos. So it's like the beginning of El Porvenir and the end of San Antonio de las Minas. Anyway, every Sunday since I was born, we went to El Rancho. And for me, wine was directly linked into us going to El Mercado Negro with my grandfather and buying jaibas,
Crabs.
crabs, thank
Spider
you.
crabs.
But
The spider crabs?
spider crabs,
The
And
marcianos, right?
y las pinzas, only the claws, no?
Right, the
We
claws.
bought the claws, oysters, and pescado, whatever fish, we didn't care. Whatever fish was there and was fresh, that's what we bought.
Right.
Then we went to the ranch and we cooked, and my uncles were drinking wine. We had remember those, was it Gallo that make those huge
Jugs?
bottles? jugs,
Yeah,
right?
jugs of wine.
So so we bought one thing of that and we recycled it. Once it was finished, we recycled it and we went to Cheto, and Cheto just filled out with, we didn't ask. My grandfather was like blanco, tinto, rosado, whatever. We didn't know if it was Cabernet, Petit Syrah. It wasn't relevant.
Whatever's wet.
And so we just filled that up. And for me, Sundays was amazing food, was my uncles and my aunts and my cousins laughing and dancing. And it was directly linked to joy and enjoyment and pleasure. And it was food. We always have eaten so well in Ensenada because of seafood, because we have amazing,
Yeah,
amazing seafood. And so wine makes sense with that. That's what wine is about, food.
right. I mean, the first place that ever hit for me was at Manzanilla,
Claro.
where I had, lots of shellfish
Mhm.
and fresh shellfish, grilled shellfish. Really, a lot of the what's the Valle de Guadalupe style menu came from that restaurant, the pescado del dia.
Really.
Um, but drinking wine and having that cuisine with seafood, Mexican flavors, Mexican wine, that I'm like, you know what? You cannot do this in Santa Barbara, Sonoma, Napa, uh, Mendocino,
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux. No,
You don't have restaurants. It's recent that you have restaurants and wineries,
right?
but recent like the last 5 years. We have more experience on that they do.
Yeah, exactly. But still, I mean, this cuisine, this Mexican cuisine, the dynamics of the spices and really having one of the luxury shellfish regions of the world, you know,
Yeah.
all this different oysters and clams and sea urchin, luxury shellfish,
The tuna.
great fish, local fish, and
Yeah.
wonderful, vegetables from their own gardens, local lamb, local quail.
Yeah.
It really can't be beat. It is the best. And I'm sorry if I can only have great wine at the end of the day, it's a little dissatisfying for me.
I agree.
I'm going to feel like I mean, I remember we used to drive back from tasting in San Ynez area and drive back to LA to go have dinner.
Mhm. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And you know what? I don't know when this is going to sound horrible. I'm sorry for all of the winemakers that are out there, but let's not forget wine, that was our purpose, to accompany a meal. Let's not forget, let's not stop,
Yeah,
I love my Som friends, most of them. So, when did it become snobbish to drink wine? It wasn't. It was
right.
with, you even
Yeah,
put like wine in the soup or water in the wine because it was an everyday thing. Wine was supposed to accompany food.
right.
We weren't, this.
You're not making wine for James Suckling to sit in a room by himself and drink it without any food.
It's meant for food and for enjoyment and for pleasure and for laughing, not, this stuck up thing where you're like,
It's for tacos.
sí, qué rico. Like, I always talk this, like having a rosé or like this, that we tried together, the Blanc de Noir Carignan from Bruma with tacos de carnitas.
Yeah,
That's love. That's pure love.
that's
It
love.
doesn't get better than that. I don't need foie gras or caviar and if I do, great, but it's not, it's not necessarily just that. No, you can have
Yeah,
just beautiful, simple food with great wines.
exactly. I mean, I picked up a bottle of the Paoloni sparkling wine, which is really nice.
Hmm. I haven't tried it. I want to try it.
I'm going to a cevicheria on Thursday and on the street, and I'm going to discreetly bring that bottle. So yeah, let's talk about Bruma because Bruma has really, I mean, evolved with you
Hmm.
and not just being the winemaker, but really being a part of that property and that whole thing you're talking about with fauna, working with Chef David, working with Chef Maribel,
Yeah.
and all the things that they're doing together in tandem, plus the actual dynamics of the property and the beauty of the space.
Yeah.
It's very different that you're a woman winemaker, a local winemaker, not some chilango that flew in to make profits,
I agree.
or some odd Austrian guy that's just hanging out in the Valle and being Mexican, you know,
I know exactly.
you're a native, a woman winemaker, and you are living and breathing that property. What is the concept and your winemaking style at Bruma where you get to do 100% what you want? You don't have to listen to anybody.
I think that's the most important thing. To begin with, my great grandmother started a vineyard 94 years ago. Great grandmother. So if it's difficult for women in the industry now, I can only imagine what that was 94 years ago.
Yeah.
She did not really drink wine or was even interested in vines. Santo Tomas back then bought grapes. And so she had like chile, tomate, cebolla. And she's like, well, if I'm doing this and there's this client that wants to buy grapes, I might as well have grapes. So she planted grapes because it was good business. It wasn't like this love romantic. I would love to romanticize this story, but it was just business. There was a client that bought grapes and she planted vines. But anyway, she it was something that took courage of her, and she was in the fields. And then my great grandfather was the first mayor of Ensenada, which Ensenada is very young. We're 140 years old. So, we're a very young city. My grandfather always taught me to love Ensenada. And that might seem like stupid or reductive. I don't know. But, he was very proud of being from Ensenada. He was always talking about our crab, our tuna, our oysters, our people.
Yeah.
For him, he did travel, but most of his life he stayed in Ensenada. When I told him that I was going to study winemaking in Bordeaux, he's like, why are you leaving Ensenada? I don't understand. Like, we have a business here. Your
Right.
grandmother, great, has like a vineyard. Like, why would you want to go? I'm like, well, I do want to study, and apparently France knows how to do this.
But you didn't go there to study wine.
No, I wanted to be a lawyer. Imagine
Yeah.
that. That would have
Ugh.
been catastrophical. But I wanted to be a lawyer
Yeah.
because my grandfather was a consul, I don't know why, of the Netherlands, because obviously we're not from the Netherlands.
Right.
I don't know. He had like ships that came from the Netherlands. Anyway, he was a consul, and I loved when he had parties.
Right.
They had amazing champagne, amazing wine. They were all like super fancy. They were eating amazing food, and that was like I was like, I want to do that. How can I do that? I have to be an ambassador, and to be an ambassador, I have to be a lawyer.
Right.
So I wanted to be a lawyer because I liked wine and food. That was the truth. And so once I was in France, someone told me like, hey, there's actually a career called enology
Right.
where you make wine. I'm like, well, I'd rather do that than study law. And that's when it kind of shifted.
Right.
But anyway, when, for me, being Ensenadense, even if it's like we're a town or a big city now or a small city now, I have always been very, very, very proud of being Ensenadense. And I think when you're in the wine business, that makes a huge difference. When there's attachment to the land
Right.
and to history. I love looking back and seeing that my great grandmother did this and my grandfather did this, and then looking forward and seeing my kids in love with Bruma and running through the fields and eating the grapes and having the strawberries that we plant in Fauna. And I think that generation and family thing, when you're in this industry, is important because it directly links you to the land.
Right.
When you say about the Chilangos, business partners, I love you. Your Chilangos, great, but you do not have that attachment to the land.
Right.
That's important. I remember Santo Tomas is a big part of my story, for example, because Santo Tomas is a big part of everyone's story in Ensenada. We all started drinking Santo Tomas and Cheto and Domecq.
Right.
That's how we all started. And Santo Tomas Dita Verbena party, which we're going to talk about, on the Vendimias parties.
Everybody's first glass of wine had to be a hot bottle of Santo Tomas that had been sitting on the shelf for way too long.
Yes. And it's part of who we are. It's part of who we are.
Right.
And so all of those Chilango investors might not get it because they haven't lived it. But for me, that's my biggest, the thing that I'm the most proud of is exactly that, is that I think being linked to the land and having that history and saying whatever happens in Valle is for my children and for the next generation, and I want them to be proud of what's going to happen and what we're doing. That makes a difference.
I think that's universal, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that universal? I mean, weren't when you were in Bordeaux, the people there were from that area, and if you go to Santa Barbara County, and I talk about that a lot because I go there. It's very close to me,
Yeah.
and a lot of those people have been in those ranches for generations.
And what are your favorite, like, not companies, but what are your favorite wineries there? Are they the ones that are linked to that in a way? I don't know if it's
Right.
because you can feel it, you can taste it.
Yes, they love their the pride that they take and the care that they take, not just of winemaking, but the land itself and what goes on there to make sure that things don't get out of hand. And every wine region is potentially the next Temecula, where it becomes an out of control party of bachelorettes and things.
Yeah.
And so Valle de Guadalupe has had to contend with some of that too, and
We're still
we've
doing it. Yeah.
you're contending with the encroachment of nightlife in the region, which should go. And I can never say this enough to you assholes that keep going to Frida's. Stop doing it. I did drive by and see a bunch of cars parked there, and it's still like come on, Frida's, King and Queen, and the should people should not be going to these places.
But it's changing, Bill. Have you seen it? I feel like there was like this peak where everyone was going to all
Yeah,
of these places and it was the
yeah.
thing to do. Now they're not in good business. Now it's like, oh, it's over, and they're like,
I know you are there watching the slow death of it, but it's still I would expect at this point that they would, especially with the drop in tourism over the last year,
yeah,
that they would just pack up and leave because they were just there for the big numbers,
yeah,
and that's not there at the moment. So I'm wondering why they're still there, and especially with all the protests and articles and people talking. And but yeah, you're right. So people can understand Valle de Guadalupe is part of the municipality of Ensenada. So
yeah.
when we're talking about Valle or Ensenada, it's one and the
It's
same.
it's one
So
for me. It's one.
you a local woman,
Hmm.
winemaker, and so that's a lot of your story at Bruma.
A lot. And I've been lucky. I've been very lucky because when I started, Juan Pablo Royuelo invited me to this project with 13 members that were maybe into or not into the winemaking part of it. Some of them were more into the hotel, some of them were more into the food part of it, but they always gave me 100% liberty on the production end of it and on the vineyard, and they were always super supportive. And as you know, back in May 2024, we sold, and now these new investors came in. And of course, I was scared. I was very scared because I didn't know who these people were and what their intentions were.
Right.
And I was kind of ready. My family were fighters, and so I wasn't scared because I was scared that it was going to finish. I was scared because I didn't want to fight. I was like, oh, am I going to have to like, and I was ready for it, but they've been very supportive. They've been, of course, they have the business end of it, but I've been very clear about how important it is for us to understand that our vocation is the land. We are agricultures, we are viticultures. That's what we do.
Right.
David, Maribel, what they do is translate the ingredients of our sea and our land. That's it. So we are all involved in what our land gives us. And they've been so respectful with it and understanding. And even though we have these conversations where we're all kind of, this is a business, but this is what we do, el oficio. I've been lucky because, and I think David would say the same thing, because they have given us all of this liberty, in which we can still care for what's coming for our kids, make amazing products without kind of selling our souls to that commercial end of it. And so I just feel like the new Valle, or the Valle that's profiling,
Right.
it has a lot to do with people that are directly linked with the soil and the land. And if there's companies that come and want to rebuild and rethink and make this, I'm not going to say other regions in Mexico, but I know that you know what I'm talking about, very commercial destinations, it's not going to happen because we're not like today.
Yeah.
There's so many
Yeah.
Ensenadenses involved in what we're doing. Second, third, fourth generations Ensenadenses. We're not allowing it. We are not allowing it. There's
Yeah.
all of those deviations of nightlife things are dying and we're growing. You have Olivea, you have Damiana, you have Diego Hernandez that is back in the valley that are pushing.
Oh, we didn't mention Diego before, but yeah,
I know. That's why I'm doing it now. I was like,
we're
since
okay.
20 minutes ago, I was like,
That is the most exciting new
it
opening
is.
for
It
sure.
is. It is. Yeah. I know he seems way older than I am, but we're from the same generation. We went to school together.
Right.
And I'm very excited to have him back because he's gonna fight. He's a fighter too. And he will build and we will make it clear that
Yes.
what we're doing is not for us, it's for our children, it's for the next generation.
He's also leading by
Yeah,
example in a big way,
definitely.
using a very sustainable approach
Mm,
and saying no to these silly things that every place gets a little bit like, oh, too leaning too hard into the cocktails,
yeah,
leaning too hard into the after party aspect of the place,
definitely.
so the self-restraint that are being showed by people like what with Diego restaurants,
Yeah,
the way they're set up is
that's
really
great.
important for other people to see. Damiana too, they're not buying into the bullshit. They're just like, we're going to make great food
Yeah,
and have great wine with it. And that's really what it should be.
I understand. Yeah, I agree, and I agree. And Ensenada, I would love for Ensenada to have that role, right? Like, come eat and wine taste with us. You want to party? Great. Go to Ensenada. There's Who Songs. Who Songs is so much fun. No,
That's no, but see, I like Who songs, but I don't feel it like you do because you grew up with that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys,
I
Who
love it.
songs is such a special place
Mythical,
for
mythical for us.
locals.
Iconic. But
Yeah, I agree.
go party at Ensenada.
Move king and queens to
Go to
Ensenada.
Ensenada, of
I mean, I don't
course.
know about
I
that.
me neither, pero but anyway, maybe Frida, I don't know. But go to Ensenada and party. The Valle is not for partying. I don't know. We might be older too. This is my party. I love this. Food and wine, that's my party. That's enough for me. But if you want to continue, go to Ensenada. Don't stay in the Valle.
The other night I was in my room in the hot tub smoking a cigar and having a glass of wine. That's what you're supposed to be doing
At Mira. Yes,
at Mira or the studios, yes.
of course.
And that's what you're supposed to be doing at the end of the evening, not, dancing and having sparklers
Champagne and
and
no.
having bottle service of Jameson whiskey. Stupid.
Stupid.
But what is your so I love Bruma wines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm tasting them now on an annual basis and getting to know all your wines at so many events. So what your style is food first, would you say? It's food friendly
Always.
wines and
Always.
specifically the
Yeah.
food of the region and Mexican food in general. How do you make that happen in your winemaking process?
You're definitely right. It's always about food. And there's one thing that for me dictates everything is the fields. And Diego, who is my right hand, everything, right, left, everything. He's like the cellar master, and he's been with me for since I got here. He always spends all of his time in the cellar during harvest, and I'm never at the cellar. I go maybe at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., but I'm always in the fields. And I think it's the most important thing for me is tasting the grapes and seeing at what point. I do not own a refractometer. I don't work with bricks
Oh wow. And why is that?
because it makes me dumb. It closes my brain. When I have a refractometer and I see a 29, a 19 or a 21 or a 22, my head goes to, oh, if it's a 21 and it's a Shannon, it might be ready. Or if it's a Cabernet, it's at a 23, it's ready. So my senses shut down and I can no longer taste or see or like I just think about that damn number.
It becomes too technical for you at that
And
point.
what I need is to taste, to have my taste buds open, to have my nose open, to have those aromas. So I never, never, never go with a refractometer. I just taste the grapes. I walk the fields. I see. there's stupid things, but that are very important. Maybe that specific plot has a lot of birds. And if those birds have attacked the grapes, regardless of what the bricks are, which I don't care, when the bird pecks on the seeds, it opens the skins, and then bees come, and bees do volatile acidity, and then the fields, like those grapes, are done, regardless if that brix is 17, 19, or 25.
Right.
That grape is going to die, so I need to pick it up now, right? So all of these things, I think just the bricks closes my brain, and I don't like to work with it. I need to be in the fields to understand all of these things, and it all depends, of the specific plot that I'm working with. So for me, the most important thing in whatever I'm doing is the picking moment of those grapes. The selection of the plot is very important. I need to know, how much rainfall we have, the type of soil that we're working with, what type of varietal am I growing. So that's very, very important. And then acidity. I think the most important thing in life, not just, is acidity.
Yeah.
And to back that up, food. Acidity makes a difference between a mediocre dish, a good dish, and a grand dish. If you work the acidity properly, that makes a grand dish. Sometimes, and people make fun of us Mexicans because of that, but just a twist of lime.
Oh, right. It's such a theme. I mean, also acidity is the theme of Mexican cuisine.
I in winemaking, I think it's the same thing. Acidity, not just in Mexican wine, in any type of wine. We've all known these like cougar juices that are sweet and vanilla-ish and butterish that are horrible.
Cougar
I'm sorry,
juice.
can I say that or can I not say that?
I've what's funny is that, gosh, I just saw Temecula in my head. See, Temecula comes back.
Cougar juice. It's so sweet.
I've never heard that before, but of course, you get that right
Mhm.
away.
So, acidity in wine.
Can I get a woo? Like,
And the selfie. um,
yeah,
that's very important in wine. In a cocktail, any good bartender will tell you, if you get too sweet on a
yeah,
cocktail, you can't have more than one. It's horrible. Humor. I love acidic humor. I think we might be friends because of
yeah.
that.
That's yes.
It's very important. Acidity is elegance, always. So all of my wines, whether you like them or not, there's like a common thread, which is acidity. I need acidity and digestion. I love to eat. So I can't, when you're in a table and you're having 25 beers, you can't have a full meal. It lacks acidity. So wine for me has to have a good acidity in order for me to have primer platillo, segundo, tercero, cuarto, the entree, the dessert, everything. Wine regulates your stomach, your bilis, and that's what makes you keep on eating. So whenever I'm thinking about a wine, the first thing I focus in is having that nice plot, that specific beautiful plot that has the potential to give me good grapes, because that's how I make wine, with grapes.
Yes.
And then acidity. If I would be working in Austria or Germany or Alsace, maybe acidity wouldn't be an issue. In Mexico and in Baja, it is, because that's what we lack of. We have no problem with tannins. We have no problems with sugar. We have it every year. Acidity is tricky.
Oh, I remember the sweet ass wines from the early aughts.
Oh,
No problem with sugar.
no problem with sugar.
The late harvest wine that wasn't a late harvest.
You concentrated, everyone waited till the last minute to harvest. It got so sweet and concentrated, and then you added water, and oh God, it
Yeah.
just didn't make
This is
sense.
our Cabernet. It's a dessert wine.
I'm sorry, but it was a Napa kind of way of doing wine. And we followed
Yeah.
Napa because it was a story of success, right? It is a
Instead of
story of
paying attention
success.
to the conditions in the Valle.
Nobody wants to be sitting in fauna having like this beautiful oyster or this beautiful lamb with a 16-degree alcohol Cabernet. Why? And it's like
Yeah.
110 degrees outside. I would never want to have that. We want this beautiful, nice brightness. So
No, no, no.
in Bruma, if I like, and I'm not pretending I'm doing this, but this is what my aim is. I want to do wines that are aromatically complex, not intense, because I don't like intensity. I like them to be subtle but complex with a lot of layers, bright, crisp, elegant wines that are not too heavy on alcohol, that are nice and crisp, and that have the soft tannin that can allow me to have a whole meal at Fauna or at the wine garden and do not feel like changing to a cocktail or water, or, that I can feel finish my meal and be completely
Right.
fine with it.
The perfect evening is you have a bottle of some kind of red, and a bottle of white that gets you through
And that's
the
it.
whole thing.
Exactly. And you don't feel heavy, and it's just beautiful, and it makes sense with food. Again, food, 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 food. Let's not forget about food. A winemaker, and I said this in an interview or in a thing that we did a couple of months ago. The question was, what is, because we were like 10 different, or 10 or 5 or 6, or I don't know, a bunch of different winemakers. And like the interviewer, the journalist asked, you're all very different, different styles of winemaking, different personalities. What is the only thing or the main thing that you think brings you together? And I said, we all love to eat. I think that's important. A good winemaker has to eat. And if, know how to eat. If a winemaker doesn't know how to eat,
Yeah.
he could still be a winemaker. I don't know if he could be a good one.
Yes, it goes back to understanding, have an appreciation, and an experience in gastronomy of eating different kinds of foods, and understanding how a meal comes together, how the wine works with the meal. And so let's talk about three of your favorite wines at Bruma.
Okay. Tough one, but
Hard to pick your favorite child, but
I know. I know. Well, you know that Bruma Ocho Rosé has always been, it's very important for me because I feel that in Mexico we weren't big rosé drinkers
right.
because it's for girls and girls suck. It seems like weak. It's like,
I drink
oh, you
rosé.
know,
I don't come with any baggage, so I'll drink any kind
but
of
yeah,
wine.
you're you're sure of your masculinity. O
I'll
sea, you don't
survive.
need
Yeah, I'll be
to
fine.
make a statement. So I just feel that Ocho Rosé, 100% Sangiovese, bone dry, not sweet at all, not fruity, more floral than fruity. For me, that was like a big progress in Mexico because, again, people were like, "Oh no, rosés are for girls. It's not a real wine," And to be honest, it's what makes more sense with our food. You
Yes.
can have rosé with carnitas, with tacos dorados, with tacos al pastor, with mole, cochinita pibil, o sea, you name it. Rosé, a bone dry rosé.
Bone dry rosé. But you know what's really funny is these machos, this machismo Mexicanos,
Mhm.
they were saying don't drink rosé, and then they were putting ice cubes in their Cabernet. So come on.
I know, I know. Or they're drinking tequila, tequila platino, tequila,
Oh yeah, this
like
that same guy.
cristalino.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what makes you worse, that
Or
rosé
that
or that
same
cristalino.
culero is having a frappuccino in the morning.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I see you with
It's
that.
like, come on,
I
dude.
saw a guy with botas, a hat, a nice Mexican belt, and he was at Starbucks at the airport getting a frappuccino. I'm like, okay, just take off those boots and that hat. You don't
Yeah.
frappuccino. But
Love it. So I like that rosé because of that, because I
yeah,
think it was a statement. And now in Mexico, we are no longer concerned, or we don't
yeah,
have a problem drinking
everybody's making
rosés, which
rosé
I
right
think
now.
is beautiful. Everyone, and that style of rosé, so not dry, not sweet, bone dry, and very pale color, more kind of Frenchy style rosé than
Yeah,
the typical Spanish saignée, which was different, right?
yeah, and I love picking up a bottle of your rosé
Right.
and bringing it back because I know it's going to go with so many things. It's such a versatile wine.
And that, since we drink wine every day, it's like that type of wine where, like,
Yeah,
I can have pollo con arroz colorado and have that rosé. It's like I don't need to
right.
cook for it. I can just open a bottle and have it with whatever I feel like.
It's going to work.
Yeah. So I think definitely that's one.
Utility wine.
Second one, it's tough because I have two in reds, but here we go. I would think the Ocho Tinto. Ocho Tinto, it's our premium like red. And this is why
Yeah.
my great grandmother started this 94 years ago, not making wine, just planting grapes and selling grapes. And so this Ocho Tinto is a Cabernet Sauvignon Petit Syrah, both of which I planted. That's my first time that I planted grapes in my life, actually, because I did not plant anything in Bordeaux. And so I just feel like that's that type of moment, planting grapes that are going to last 60, 70, 80 years, and that maybe my great granddaughter or granddaughter or grandson, sorry, not being a feminist here, will look back and say, hey, you know what? My grandmother planted this in 2016. So
Right.
bringing those grapes and planting that this year, Ocho Tinto is 2021. And so it comes from the planting that I did back in 2016. So it's something special, my first time that I plant. And that blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Petit Syrah. I know we talked about what the next varietal or the Baja varietal would be. Again, not sure what it will be, but for me, Petit Syrah makes sense because you also talked about Las Californias. Us pochos,
Yeah.
we know what California is. And I know pocho is a tricky subject because it was very insultante antes, no? It was.
Yeah, it was an insult from people born in Mexico for people who like us that weren't born in Mexico. But so don't worry, we've reclaimed that. We reclaimed that title.
I think it's beautiful. I honestly, when I went to Bordeaux, I was 18. I did not know how to speak French, and so I joined the Mexican Association of Mexicans in Bordeaux. And when I got there, they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Baja." Like, "Oh, you're pocho," and I'm like, "I'm not pocho. I'm Mexican. What do you mean?" He's like, "No, you're pocho. You're gringo."
Right.
Like, I'm not. I'm Mexican. Like Tijuana, Ensenada. I'm Mexican.
You're from a Mexican state in
And
Mexico.
so I was very insulted. I was like, these
Yeah.
motherfuckers, like, what are they talking about? So we met every month. And, every month we had conversations, and their references had nothing to do with my references. They were talking about Chespirito. I was talking about Saved by the Bell. They were talking about Bubalo. I was talking about Fruit by the Foot. Like, eventually I was like, fuck, I am pocho. O sea, the truth is that we do live in the border. And I do know what a California.
Yeah, border towns have a dip, but yeah, it's a border town.
We're different. We're different. So it's not good or bad. We're just different. And yes, I do know about California burritos. And yes,
Yeah.
and San Diegans know about Baja tacos and Rosarito. And the first time they were drunk was probably on our side of the border, not on theirs. So there's a lot of communion between us and shared culture. So guess what? Yes, we're pochos, and it is great. It's richness,
Yeah.
it's diversity.
Well, I mean, you're Mexican born, so you're not a pocho, but you are an honorary pocho.
But why can't we be, we share the same border? Let's all be pochos.
Yeah, no, you can be. You can. Of course, you can be.
It's like Californias. Like you said, we are the
Yeah,
Californias.
we have this connection, for sure, and especially with people from San Diego.
Yeah, it's like literally half an hour. We went to buy milk in San Diego because our milk in Ensenada
Yeah.
wasn't pasteurized, so it went sour like in a day and a half. So
Oh no, no. I remember. I remember visiting family in Aguascalientes in the 70s, and they had to boil the milk.
boil the milk. So we went to San Diego literally just to buy milk because at least it lasted like a week.
Right.
And we didn't have to boil it. So, we do share a lot. And I think Petit Syrah
Right.
has that function. Petit Syrah was brought into the States, back in the 1960s, 70s. And today, the first producer in the world of Petit Syrah is the States, but specifically California. And so, second,
Right. Because Petit Syrah can play a bigger role here than it does in Bordeaux, where it's like 2% or 1% or
nothing.
hardly anything. It's
Exactly.
a splash.
And nobody owns Petit Syrah. When you ask, like, oh, when was the last time that you tasted Petit Syrah 100%? Probably 90% of people would say California, like California and Petit Syrah. So
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
it's already
Or Cap
ours.
Franc for that
Oh,
matter.
Cap Franc, yeah, exactly. So I just feel like planting Petit Syrah and blending it with Cabernet, which Cabernet is like it grows all over. It's always interesting. It's like the
It grows
king
everywhere. It does
varietal.
well in
Yeah,
many places.
it makes sense. So that Ocho Tinto for me, that blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Syrah, representing the Californias and being my first planting in my life, it's like that means a lot. And I will continue to plant a lot of Pichichura because I believe in it. But just like that specific bottle of Ocho Tinto is like, you know, part of my life forever. Wherever it might take me, it's always with me.
It's a great wine, and it's one you can put down.
Yeah, I agree. It has that potential. Yeah.
You can cellar that.
And then the third one, this is the new one. We tried it together.
Okay.
Did we? Yeah, I think we did the Shannon. Remember that last Thursday?
Yes.
So I love Chenin Blanc.
You love Chenin Blanc. I love Chenin Blanc.
I love Chenin Blanc. I'm in love with Chenin Blanc in Mexico. I'm in love with Chenin Blanc, but I truly believe in Chenin Blanc in Mexico. And so
It works well in Valle Guadalupe.
right? So this
Yeah.
specific Chenin is from Viñedos Compali. You know, Compali from our friend Hans in Montechanic. They planted, well, nothing to do with Montechanic, but they
Right.
planted.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm like, they planted. Hans and his partners planted a vineyard in Ojos Negros. Ojos Negros is the highest altitude vineyard in our region. So you have a lot of nice cold weather, really clayish soils. I bought from them Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Chenin, and Syrah. And the whites, the red is beautiful and bright, but the whites are amazing. I'm a big fan of whites, as you know. I love white wine. I love rosé, just because
I
I love food.
White wines are I think if you're a real wine drinker, white wines
Yeah,
are the most versatile. They are the most food friendly.
I agree.
And so there's just so much you can do with them. So, reds sometimes give us limited options on how we can enjoy them, but I agree. And that is a great bottle of wine, your Chenin Blanc, that we
Yeah.
tried just the other day.
It's beautiful, right? That's the first
It's
vintage.
beautiful.
It's not even labeled. What we had was like out of the tank. We're actually bottling it on Monday, tomorrow, and so that is 100% Chenin from Compali. And this is a cool project. We kind of talked about it. There's a nonprofit association called Wine Unify. Wine Unify is this nonprofit association that supports Black Americans and people of color of our industry, regardless if it's production or, you know, like PR or sommeliers.
Yeah.
And so every year they do a specific label. Last year it was this beautiful Pinot Noir inkwell from South Africa. And now they've selected us to work together. So I'm doing Chenin, that Chenin that you tasted. That's what we're doing. And
Yeah.
you're going to help us with this. 20% of the profits that comes from these sales are going to be towards the situation that we're living in LA, specifically, and California, with immigrants, with helping out. And I just feel, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities for us to work together, and this is it. And doing it with this beautiful Chenin that comes from this bright, nice crispness of Ojos Negros,
Yeah.
and supporting us, I think it's the best. So that's that's my third one.
I love it.
Third wine.
And I'm in. Count me in. I'm here to help.
Please tell us what the profit. You told me about this on Thursday. A couple that's super supportive.
Right, to find a nonprofit for you. So yes, we are gonna connect you with our good friends at Cielo.
Yeah.
If you're just looking for one organization, our friends at Cielo definitely are working with the immigrant community right now, and obviously need a lot of help. So yes, that's wonderful news.
That would be amazing. This label is going to be called. It's going to be called Mama.
That's right.
Because it's I think we all love our moms, and they're always super supportive, and being a matriarch, and like we all are always pushing for our families. So I think that's something that binds us together. And I'm very, very much excited about that, Shannon.
That sounds exciting. And speaking of exciting, it's the 35th anniversary of Vendimias, which is the month-long, maybe a little bit more than a month-long, annual harvest festival in the Valle de Guadalupe. It's night after night of parties. It really grew and grew over the years. It went from remember the old school where they just had the bales of hay at Mogor Badan.
I know.
And it was like wine and empanadas. I remember that one.
That was so good. Those empanadas were amazing, though.
They were amazing. And I remember going to a Jugo de Acosta event where there was like air dancing. I'm like, okay, air dancing. I don't know about that. But I got to see the air dancing events, all the Jugo de Acosta events.
It was very artistic, very, very
It was
artistic.
very artsy, very chilango.
See,
And then, it kind of got out of hand. And now everybody's scaling back a little bit, being more conservative about it to make sure that it doesn't, also so that these nightlife places don't look at you guys
yeah,
and go, hey,
yeah.
but you're doing that.
Be
So
coherent.
there's a little, yeah, appearances count. What is your experience over the years going to vendimias, and why should people come to it?
My first Fiesta de la Vendimia, again, I look very much young, but I'm not that young, was at La Verbena.
Yeah.
So again, 35 years ago.
Wow.
La Verbena at Santo Tomas, they closed the street. It wasn't closed back then, and they closed the street. And what was amazing about it was I went with my parents. I was 35, so I was like 6, 7 years old. And we rolled dice, like a cardboard dice, and I don't remember the rules because I was too young. But I remember just walking out with like 10 bottles of Barbera Clásico de Santo Tomás, and my parents being super happy, and Hugo being there, and Martin and Natalia, and it was only us. And having empanadas, having burritos, having wine out of plastic cups. It was magical because it was about Ensenada and about our land and about our wines and about our food.
Right.
That was my first experience with it. The Fiesta de las Paellas, which is iconic too. That's how you kind of,
It's iconic.
it's iconic, and you start the events with La Muestra del Vino, in which this year it's August 1st, we all showcase our wines and talk about what we're doing in this huge party where you just kind of go from stand to stand.
That is definitely an important event for people to go to, because that's
Yeah.
the one time you're going to get to try a lot of Mexican wines.
Everyone.
Right. And you're going to get to try Mexican wines that don't have tasting rooms.
Yeah,
Which is
you're right.
so-
Smaller producers. Yeah.
Right.
That's my go-to. This year,
Right.
so normally that's the first event. This year, it's actually our dear friends' anniversary, 20-year anniversary of Eileen and Phil's Villa del Valle.
Wow.
Can you believe that? 20 years. So they're celebrating that with a very good food foundation, which it's their 10-year anniversary, and that's happening on July 31st at Villa del Valle. So kind of the Fiesta de las Vendimias this year starts with that.
Wow.
Next day, we have La Muestra del Vino. So those two things for me are like, that Phil and Eileen have been supportive of the Valle since the beginning. They're one of the first to start. Yeah.
Yeah, right. They're part of
Yeah.
the early story, and I did go to an event at their place at one
Yeah,
point.
of course.
Many years ago.
And then La Muestra del Vino, like you said, that's the event where you see most of the producers of the region, including producers that don't have a tasting room. And this year, there's also like a guest region from Mexico. So every year we have like different guest regions, and we're trying to invite more people. Aguascalientes, Coahuila, Guanajuato, to not just showcase Baja wines, but also Mexican wines. And then we're having our Bacanal on August 15th.
Okay, so everyone, I've been to a lot of events over the years.
You're going this one this year too.
And yeah, obviously people want to go to their favorite wineries events, and that's sort of what draws you. And over the years, I've been more, okay, I'm going to go to this wine event because I like that winery. And like I said, you get a mixed experience. Sometimes it can be, just hanging out and drinking wine, which can be nice. But I would say that no one does it like Broma. And the one thing that people, that know you, have been around you, is you're very much a fashion maven. And, from these cool glasses you're wearing there, and haircuts, hairstyles, and wonderful dresses. So this is your chance to be full on Lulu, right?
It is. That's what we did. Because again, I think it's a full package. It's not just about the wine. It has to be about the experience.
Right. So the Bacanal, I've been to it. This is the third annual.
Yeah. Volume 3.
So I've been to both of them.
Yes.
And people really dress up for this, and they get a little. It's a little. Some friend was looking at your flyer, and they said, "Oh my God, it gets a little crazy over there." Right? I go, "No, no, no,
It
no,
seems like S&M.
no,
It's
no, no.
not. It's not S&M. But
It's no, it's not. There's no S&M.
no, no,
There there's no whips.
no.
Nothing like that.
Mm-mm.
There are a few people that dress. They get really into it, but other than that, it's a bunch of very nicely dressed people.
Yeah.
Broma wine, of course, all
Mhm.
around the mercado.
Yeah.
And in the years past, you've had guest chefs, a lot of what I would say a mix of the old guard and the new, the younger chefs that are peers of
Yeah.
Chef David there. But this year, you're doing something a little different.
Bacanal is, and we've been talking about it, I feel like since the beginning. That's like how I see wine. Bacanal is pleasure. Bacanal is,
Right.
it's food, is music, it's art, it's obviously alcohol, wine. It is sensual, sexual. That's part of pleasure too. It does, and
Yes.
I think Bacanal is exactly that. It has that sensuality. We all go like dressed in black because and fancied up because you want to look good. But we kind of initiated this with love. It's also an excessive love, and that's not just sexual. It's friends.
Yeah.
The people that we invite, the chefs that we invite, they are our colleagues, but they're our friends, really, really close friends. And so it's an opportunity for us to cook and drink together and enjoy that with our guests. But it's real. It's not fake. It's not people that we randomly invite and just like, it's people that we enjoy spending time with, and that, guess what, are super talented. And so Bacanal kind of started like that. For me, it was, we have so many talented friends,
Right.
and we're so lucky to call them friends. Let's just meet up and cook with the heart and drink with the heart and invite all of our guests and our best clients to share that, because it's not made up. It's not this commercial thing. It's real. And when we invite them, we all have fun and we spend 5 or 6 days together. And this is what's happening now. And on Wednesday, I think that's the Wednesday 13th, we're having the chef from At cooking, no? At Katana, which is cooking with us, with In Fauna, and with David and Maribel. Next day, Jose Luis Nostroza from Arca is cooking at La Morocha, a very kind of casual.
A big friend. He's a big friend of Bruma and Fauna,
Oh, we love him. Yeah, he's our brother.
and super talented.
Super talented and very well. He's now our vecino, no, our neighbor.
Right.
Amazing project that they're doing at Mira. And then on Friday we have our actual bacanal at the ancient wine garden. So under the olive trees in the middle of the vineyard. Jose Luis is cooking. Chuy Villarreal from Cara de Vaca is cooking. Tomás Bermúdez from La Docena. Obviously, Maribel, David, and Daniela Soto Inés from Rubra and Putamita. So they're like,
Yeah.
amazing, talented chefs cooking. Obviously, lots of wine, live music, this kind of very sensual, black, beautiful, elegant decor, and just, enjoying family style. It's fine dining, but you know how we like fine dining. We like to relax. So it's never white tablecloths. It's really down to earth, beautiful food.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, Chuy Villarreal is doing an asado, like a whole cow, at the wine garden, and Pepe el Toro, and we're having norteños from El Juzón. And of course, at night, we're going to La Verbena from Santo Tomas, that I love. And it's like a traditional thing for me forever. We have to go always back to Santo Tomas. So it's going to be 4 days. Huge party.
Bringing it all back to Santo Tomas.
Yeah. Good wine, good food.
Yeah. So this is a real 4 days of parties. And so for
Yeah.
people who are going to go to the
Great.
Bacanal, it's again, you're having the wine, you're going to enjoy these chefs. And then after everybody goes to the bar,
Great cocktails.
yeah, there's an after party that's really nice. And then the next morning, we're all,
La cruda, the hangover. Bloody Marys for everyone. Micheladas for everyone. Garibaldis for everyone. That's what we do. And then we start all over again.
yeah. I would say that in many years, over a decade of attending vendimias, that, not just because I've been there for the first two, and I'm also close to you guys and a friend of the winery and to the restaurant. But I really love this event because of all those people that are involved. I mean, besides you guys, the people you
Yeah.
bring it makes it very special.
Super talented.
Let's talk about how can people get tickets for Bacanal.
So this year we're handling like a set, not like an event, like a special dinner event. So you can literally just book in our normal Resi and Fauna and Bruma Wine Resort page without a problem. You
Okay.
just book it directly.
So just go to your website and you can book.
Yeah.
August 15th.
Yeah, you go into the day August 15th, make that reservation. It'll automatically put you in our Bacanal page.
So go to the website.
Bruma Wine Resort.
For Bruma Wine Resort. It starts at 6 p.m. It's going to go till after midnight at Pepe El Toro, the bar in the Mercado Bruma.
Yes.
And believe me, it's a fun time. It's not, and it's just people hanging out, still drinking wine, listening to music, live music, dancing a little bit. And then, of course, you need to stay at Attico. You need to book a room because you could just walk right upstairs.
Beautiful.
That's the move.
That's very practical. It's the best thing. Staying at the Attico or Casa Ocho or Casa Montaña, depending on what mood you're in, it's amazing.
So go to the Bacanal. Make sure to go to the Muestra del Vino. Very important to get to know wineries. And if you can only go to one event, make it the Bacanal. Always include Bruma Winery when you're making the rounds and you're tasting. And of course, everybody has been to Fauna and they're going to come back because we all love Fauna. Another place you can find Bruma wines. Also here in California at select restaurants. Can you name some restaurants here where people can try Bruma wines?
Yeah, of course. Valle, El Valle of our dear friend Roberto Alcocer, which we love.
Yes, Valle.
Of course. Mirate, Daisy, where else? With Drew 31 at Cali, all of the supporters of Mexican wine. Oh, and Whole Foods, which is amazing. Whole Foods is supporting Mexican wine. K&L, Total Wines, those are stores that are also supporting the cause.
You're at K&L?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's my neighborhood shop.
You have to go. We're there with Bruma and Casa Hippie.
Okay. That's right. So yeah, you have Bruma Wines, Casa Hippie are the two lines, right? Mm-hmm. All right, Lulu, this was so fun to have you on.
I love you. Thank you so much. Really, you are part of the family.
I love you too. Oh, thank you so much.
That's true.
And I will see you on August 15th.
Yes.
At Bacanal.
Conste. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Beso.
And that's it for today, folks. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a comment and a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. Stay tuned for next week and we'll be back with more.